Hey guys, my name's Lou and it's my mission to aid your awakening. Today I'm going to discuss the keys to self-discipline, why we need self-discipline, what self-discipline essentially is, and how important it is during your awakening to rely and depend on self-discipline to transform yourself into the ideal self, to create the life that you really want. I think self-discipline is absolutely vital to create and change and adapt into the life we are, and just to begin doing anything. I'm also going to address this paradox that there sort of seems to be in the spiritual world. There sort of seems to be this paradox between doing something effortlessly and getting in the flow and taking effortless action towards your purpose, and things just all going right and just being aligned and in that effortless flow state, compared with growth ultimately coming through facing up to resistance, fighting through resistance to some extent, and then be able to build and grow on top of that. And I'm going to basically address this paradox, as some people are very confused whether do I fight the resistance, do I really face the thing that's making me scared and face it head on, or do I more get into my comfort zone, take the path of least resistance and sort of flow into that sort of, go in that sort of direction, take action through that sort of path. I'm going to discuss this paradox and how actually both arguments and both techniques have their merit, very much both have their merit, right? They're both very key to dealing with self-discipline, and how self-discipline comes into this in terms of taking action, in terms of really going after what you want in life, whether you are awakening, going through a hard or a good part of your awakening. Maybe you've transformed yourself to the extent where you feel cured, you feel healed, largely healed. You've healed the traumas of your past, a lot of them, and you've got through many mental health issues or negative symptoms of awakening, and now you feel like, what's next? What do I need to do next? This video is also for you, but it's also for those of you that are still struggling, still going through that dark night of the soul, still really struggling, having a hard part of the awakening, but also need to deal with the fact of, do I fight my resistance now and just battle through this, or do I take a step back, align, really go with what feels comfortable and what feels right and authentic to me? Both arguments, both things have their merit, and I'm going to discuss that in this video. So, keys of self-discipline during awakening. Let's go. So for this video, and I use one of the books that I bought about a year ago, which has helped me massively, and it's one of those texts which isn't very spiritual. It's very much like American westernized idea. The name of the book is No Excuses by Brian Tracy. Now, I highly recommend anyone that's feeling slightly unmotivated or slightly stuck in any position in life or not really sure where to go to buy this book, because it's one of those books that's going to kick you up the arse. It's one of those books that is going to really make you take a second look at yourself and be a bit hard on yourself, to be honest. I think that's useful. I think everything is useful to an extent, and I don't just read one type of book. I don't just read Eckhart Tolle style of books and books by gurus and Buddhist texts and things like that. I read a whole wide range of different types of books, and I think self-development books, which are very westernized, very individualized and focused on the self and going out and taking action, compared to the books that are all about being and going within, both really key, and both are definitely very relevant. And I think I did a recent Instagram post on this where I talk about, I'm usually reading books that are based on spirituality. I'm usually reading fiction books as well, because I think fiction books are great for expanding your vocabulary. I think they're great for exploring your imagination as well. It really opens and forces you to access that creative side of your mind and create a story in the words that you're reading, as well as self-development books like this, practical type books that are going to help you and give you a bit of the kick that you need. And Brian Tracy's No Excuses is perfect example of one of these books that's going to make you take a second look at your life and things that are going on. And the way he defines self-discipline in this book is, it is the ability to do what you should do when you should do it, whether or not you want to or not. So doing what you have to do when you know it has to be done, whether or not you feel like doing it. And it's ultimately the idea of you contending with that emotion, that resistance, that I don't feel like doing this today. Just like me coming to make this video today, I really didn't feel like it's really, really hot day. It's very stuffy out here, stuffy temperature, and I just didn't feel in the mood for it today. You might be able to hear my voice. I'm a bit tensed up today. It's been a hard day at work as well, and I just didn't feel in the mood. But I think it really strikes a chord. Maybe those of you watching that can hear me admit to this, that I did not feel in the mood for making this video today, but it's to do that self-discipline that keeps you at it. I mean, you're not always going to be motivated, and the emotion isn't always going to be there. I think what Brian Tracy also talks about is you should go for the self-discipline over the motivation. Don't just act on emotion, don't just act when you feel like you should. Just act because it's like a craft, it's a self-discipline. You're disciplining yourself. It's like an act. It's like brushing your teeth every day. You do it whether or not you want to, but because you know it's the right thing to do. He quotes the famous Aristotle quote, that the ultimate end of life isn't about what you get, what you acquire along the way. It's about the development of character. The ultimate end of life is the development of character. And I've talked about this in other videos that I've done. I've talked about how when your life, when you're having amazing experiences, maybe you're striving for this experience, you have it, yet you don't remember it that well afterwards, or it doesn't really stand out to you, or even if you think you've got to this level, or you've achieved, or you've had this external event happen, it doesn't really change who you are. The only thing that you do remember and does stay with you is the way you've changed, that character that you've either developed or let go astray. Now, he also says that if you know what you need to do. Most people, I think, in the self-development community, in the spirituality community, know that you should meditate often, know that you need to exercise, do basic things, but it's about whether you do it or you don't. And you're going to feel, if you do it, you're developing, you're molding yourself closer to that character, to the ideal self. If you don't, you're softening your character, and you're moving further and further away from it. Now, these are very harsh words to hear, and especially someone who's quite sensitive and someone who might be waking up at the moment. It runs directly counter to what I believed for a long time, that I just need to, it belongs directly counter to the advice of accept and trust, which I always say on this channel, that you need to accept and trust that a process is happening, that you essentially have no control over, you must just yield and surrender to. So hearing words like this, where life is all in your responsibility, you must act, otherwise your character will soften, is quite intense. But my way of approaching it, especially because I don't think Brian Tracy would agree that people are waking up on the planet, or even that a spiritual awakening is a common thing, that some people that might not have dedicated their entire life to studying religious practices are undergoing. Yet at the same time, I think the advice, the way that I take it, is that self-discipline, you need to give yourself time for self-discipline. I don't think, there are so many things I could list. I was just thinking about it this morning, because I was, like I said, having quite an off day today, not really feeling myself, not really feeling that good. I was thinking basically all the way here about how, if only I've been more strict with my diet, I'd have, abs that would be coming out at the moment. If only I had saved more money and not spent so much on restaurants, I'd be able to maybe move to a better location, a house I really want to get in London easier. If only I'd fought the resistance more, if only I'd been more self-disciplined like I'm being today, and gone out and made more videos and made more content and written more on my book, I'd have more to offer you guys and more to give, and I'd build up a bigger audience quicker. And there's a lot of things in my mind that are always going to be like that. But at the end of the day, you've also got to be grateful that that voice is there, right? You've got to be grateful. Some of you are being burdened by this responsibility you feel. Some of you are being burdened by this self-discipline that's innate within you, and it wants to come out, and it's calling you to move forward. Now, we've got to appreciate this and let it speak to us, not just block it out. But a lot of people, and you feel listening to this, if you resonate with what I'm saying, you have that as well. You are one of the chosen ones. You have this voice in your head that's telling you, this isn't good enough, you need to do this. It's being hard on you. As long as, when you do take the right action, when you do the thing you know you're meant to do, as long as that voice stops and you feel a great sense of reward, then it's healthy. Then it shows that it's only wanting the best for you. It's like a higher guide. I see it as like a higher guide, and it can be hard, and you wish in an ideal world my higher guides would be more like angels that are constantly loving me and filling me with praise and validation. But that's not the way it is. There is that part of us that wants to achieve something and get closer to something in this physical world, as well as get a close connection to the spirit, the present moment, which is everlasting, which has no time. It is just pure infinity. But there is that part of us that needs to succeed and gain something in the physical world, in which case self-discipline must come in and lead us. And self-discipline, as Brian Tracy says, is the one thing that will guarantee you the success in life, the one thing that will embolden and sharpen your character to becoming the person, to achieving the ideal self that you wish to achieve, and the ideal life you wish to manifest. But this is done through self-discipline, the art and the practice. One of the things Brian Tracy recommends that everyone does is write down their goals. He says, according to him, 97% of people don't even write down their goals every year. Maybe some people write down their New Year's Eve resolutions on a small piece of paper that they tuck away and they never see again. But he says 97% don't regularly write down their goals. Now, one thing I've recommended on this channel months ago before is writing things down, guys. Like I said in the last video, in tips for 5D consciousness, I said, have a dream journal, because you're going to get lots of messages through dreams. While your ego mind starts to slow down and you have less inner monologue, you'll be receiving higher intelligence through synchronicities, through dreams. Write down a journal. It's good to journal every day when you're struggling with your dealing and trying to comprehend with a lot of emotions. Your emotions may be very fleeting or in flux, and you don't really know how to think or how to feel. A great way is just writing down journals, writing down your daily feelings, getting them down on paper. So journaling, dream journaling. Also just constantly writing down goals. I have goals for this week. I have a list of things I want to achieve each day, a list of things I want to do over the course of the next month, my yearly goals, which is at the start of my journal, so I can always look back on them, and I reflect on how close I'm getting to those goals at the end of every 3 months. So it's like a quarter one, quarter two, quarter three, quarter four. So that's, you can say it's quite a lot, but Brian Tracy recommends this hugely. He says it times people's chance of success by 1,000, and becoming more self-disciplined the more they're writing down their goals. He says writing is a psychomotor neuron activity, in which case the more regularly you do this, he recommends even writing down the same goals week after week, just to implement them in your mind and create that subconscious awareness, to reprogram your subconscious mind towards those directions. I know I've talked about reprogramming subconscious mind in earlier videos, where you've got to repeat mantras to yourself, repeat affirmations to yourself, so that your mind is being fed ideas, seeds that it can then sprout and through your RAS and your conscious reality. And it's exactly the same with writing down your goals. Implementing that psychomotor neuron activity is going to bring you far closer to being on the right path, to staying self-disciplined, and to ultimately getting that inner guide that's going to tell you, no, you need to do this. No, you need to focus on this. No, stop this. That's enough now. You're not getting anything from this. You need to focus on this. You've told yourself you're going to focus on this, now you need to follow through. And yes, it can be hard at times. You're dealing with that pressure. You're dealing with, so you need to give yourself time, because self-discipline is something that happens over years. Like I was saying earlier, I wish I'd been more strict on my diet. I wish I'd saved up more money by now. But if I look back a year ago, I hadn't even hardly had any money saved at all. I hardly had an income to be saving money in the first place. So I've taken already a big leap in the right direction. So really look back and appreciate that first step. Because, and I started going to the gym less than 2 years ago, and now I expect to be in super shredded shape and my diet to be perfect. I'm already doing intermittent fasting, I'm already working out, weight training 3 times a week, and doing other exercise on the side, so cardio exercise. So I should be appreciative of that leap, of that big first step I've taken, and give myself time for the self-discipline to develop. Like I say, it's an art. It's an art you need to slowly develop. Like with YouTube, I was too scared to even make a little video of myself and put anything out on YouTube. Now I'm out on YouTube, I've got over 140 subscribers, and I'm going to keep going. Okay, so be appreciative of that first leap you've taken, but also, at the end of the day, you don't want that inner monologue to let up. Well, not the inner monologue. You don't want that voice in your head that's pushing you forward to stop. And I'm not going to tell you to let it go. I'm not going to tell you to numb it by drinking or smoking or whatever. I'm going to say be with it and accept that burden, because at the end of the day, you're a chosen one. You're here to ascend. How are you going to ascend? You're going to let go of trauma, heal yourself, your spirit's going to rise. All fun. But there's also going to be that burden you're going to have to take action that you're not necessarily going to want to. So when we talk about that paradox between resistance and going with the flow, right, it's a combination of both. You need to take and face that initial resistance. How much was I in the flow when I started YouTube? When I was setting up my account, yeah, I was a bit excited. Was I in flow in my first ever video? No, I was scared. I was scared to think that, right, the people I know in my life are now going to see me as this guy, are now going to brand me as the spiritual guy. And then maybe I'm going to be held accountable. Maybe I can't do other certain things because I'll be seen as, oh, that's not spirit. I thought he was like this. He's doing things contrary to this. You're putting yourself out there. I faced a lot of resistance. But once I started getting feedback, then I got into flow state. It's facing that initial resistance. Just like when you wake up in bed in the morning, you don't want to do yoga. Maybe you don't want to meditate. Maybe you want to go and watch some TV and stay in that sleep mode. You don't really want to wake up from the inside. You don't really want to face resistance and go to the gym. I never want to. But once you do it, once you arrive to the gym, then you go into flow state, then it feels better and better. And then afterwards, once you face that resistance, once you've got into the flow, getting both those things down, then you feel amazing. Then it's let up, then that pressure is off, then you know you've achieved something, and that is where the abundance comes. That's where the feeling, that's where blessings come, because you're in that abundant state, you're ready to receive it. Guys, and it's about self-discipline. Ultimately, is pushing yourself to do things that have an accumulative benefit. It's not about things that, oh, you go spend a lot of money on a nice dinner. That's very nice, can be an amazing occasion, good, but it doesn't have that cumulative benefit. What's a cumulative benefit? Eating good food, exercising, meditating, doing things that you wouldn't want to do, starting a grind, starting maybe a side business, going outside your comfort zone, socializing with more people. Focus on things like that, because not only doing them, no matter how bad it went, you know you're putting a foot in the right direction, which has huge upscale potential. At the end of the day, we're waking up. Like I've said this in other videos, right? We're waking up. There's nothing you can do about it. At the end of the day, you're going to be met with these challenges. You're going to be met with this resistance. It's only a matter of time. I told myself this before. It's only a matter of time. There's two things I can do. I can avoid it and face it at a later time, maybe when I'm more ill prepared. And it's going to hit me harder. It's going to make me awaken more. It's going to hit me harder, be more of a challenge at the time. Or the only other thing I can do is accept. I can accept, trust it, and take action. Or I can resist and I can avoid. But at the end of the day, the same thing, the same lessons are being shown to me. I believe in a process where I'm going to see and experience the same lessons. But I can make it so much easier if I just take this action, face this resistance. Then one day, sooner or later, the resistance will have gone and you can thrive. And then you can be in flow state. And then it's easier and easier to keep up this discipline and to really receive what you want in life. Write down those goals, have it all clear, have it all worked out in your head, what you want to achieve. Maybe today, maybe in a month's time, maybe in a year's time, maybe even in 10 years' time. But guys, quite a hard video today. I just wanted to really root in a lot of people's minds. I really just wanted to force a couple of people up, because one thing that I know is that we're all loving souls. We have so much to give, and I think the one thing is we don't want to face resistance, or we're worried that we don't have the value to give. And that's exactly how I felt this morning. So I felt throughout the day, even before making this video. I felt like maybe I don't have the right things to say, maybe I don't have the right things to give, but it's in facing that resistance, and it's in making it now. I'm already feeling better now for doing it. It's facing that resistance, it's sticking with that discipline, having faith in knowing that this is the right thing. I know this is the right thing to do. There's always going to be reasons. Don't listen to your mind, trust your inner spirit, surrender to the discipline, surrender to the craft of whatever it is you're doing. It could be as simple as washing dishes, cleaning your room. Staying disciplined will take us there, will give us that abundance, give us that flow, facing our resistance, bringing us into that position where we want to be, closer to our ideal reality. And with that, we can get blessings, blessings, blessings. Thank you guys so much for listening. Have an amazing week. Stay disciplined, guys. Much love. Goodbye.